To Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the Cracker Barrel, restaurant chain in the United States, the Cracker Barrel issues to do with their new logo and their makeover and their sterilization of the stores and so on. Now, Cracker Barrel's come in for a bit of a savaging recently in in a lot of sections of the media, not simply left or right or anything like that, but it's almost universal that they're being denounced as having made the wrong move with their most recent new logo, new makeover type thing. Now, as proof of this bad move, they say, well, the share price has fallen since they announced this, and therefore it was obviously a bad move and so on. But we need to look at this with a wider angle lens, and I think the treatment of Cracker Barrel has been, if not unfair, I think it's been misrepresented in the overall wider reality of things. Now, the share price in Cracker Barrel and their revenues and so on have been declining for quite some time, at least 6 years. So the idea that they've just suddenly, it's all gone to shit suddenly is not true. They were already in decline before COVID hit. When COVID hit, the decline accelerated, and they've never recovered. They've sort of bumped along. So there was a time when Cracker Barrel shares today, I don't know, $50 or something. Again, 6 years ago, they were $150. So 150 down to 50 is a pretty serious decline. Now, again, COVID's got to take a decent chunk of the responsibility. They lost customers because of COVID, and they haven't really recovered that customer base. So let's just imagine you're the decision-making sort of committee, if you will, the CEO of Cracker Barrel, and you're looking at a situation where the share price is going, your sales are going down, your profitability is under pressure, and all this sort of thing. So you've kind of got to do something. Now your biggest investors or your biggest shareholders are the usual suspects on pretty much every company today, and these are the guys that call the shots. These are the guys that tell you who you'll have on your board of directors. They'll tell you who your CEO is. They even tell you which marketing agencies you're going to use. You can't take a shit unless these guys say you can. And they're, of course, the standard suspects, the Blackrocs, the Vanguards, the State Streets. And Cracker Barrel is beholden to those heavy dudes that act like mafia enforcer goons, telling you what you will and won't do. They're as beholden to them as anything. Now, these guys, given the way the stock market's structured these days, these guys can raise and lower your share price to whatever level they want. They have that much control over share prices. So if you're the CEO, you do what they say. Otherwise, the stock price, you can't. Your compensation package will be tied to a share price, and they'll tell you what their share price has to be. They'll tell you what your compensation packages be. The BlackRock gangsters. So and they say, okay, well, if the share price hits X, you'll get a $10 million bonus as the CEO or the EVP and the people in the executive suite. Now, from that point onwards, BlackRock and Vanguard, they decide what the share. They can raise it to $1,000 a share or 1 cent a share. They can do whatever they want with that share price, move it whenever they want, at any time they want, in any direction they want. That's how much control they have. So if you want to get your bonus, which means maybe you'll never need to work again, you'll be able to buy that waterfront mansion in Florida for your retirement, all this sort of stuff. If you want all that, you've got to play ball. You've got to do what the fuck you're told, and they'll just walk your share price up to that level if you're a good little boy or girl, or they won't. And so if you don't do what they want, you're screwed, buddy. Your bonus will be zero, and you'll be out of a job. And they'll make sure you don't get another job because they're in control of almost every substantial company in the board of directors on those companies. So you have to play ball. CEOs don't really get much of a chance. Any independent-minded CEO will very quickly find themselves as an ex-CEO. Now, so the share price is declining. Now, I don't know what measures they took. If you go back over the media thing, there was tough talk every now and again. Oh, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. Maybe there were marginal stores they could have closed and didn't. Maybe there was, freshening up the menu that they could have done but didn't. Maybe they could have improved service but didn't. Maybe they could have, put more effort into, subsidiary sort of indirect factors like making sure there's more parking around the restaurants, or other factors like, well, what did they do? Did they review? Did they do better advertising and marketing? But it seems to be that they took the view, well, our patron, our customer base is older people. They're the ones that like the hometown homespun stuff. The young kids don't give a shit about that. So the older folks are dying off, and we've got to make the store relevant for younger people who don't care about the 1890s, early 1900s dining experience. Now, I don't know how true that was, but you can understand how they would look at that. They're looking at all the possible things they can do to rest. The decline's happening anyway, okay? So that's happening anyway. Nothing to do with the new logo or something. Already the decline's in motion and in train. So how do you arrest that? Now, the other, every sort of better management, better discipline, better quality, better food, better menus. All these things take time. They take time to sort of bleed through into improving the bottom line, or improving the customer inflow and this sort of thing. And they all require a lot of discipline. They require quality people, well-trained quality people, innovative people to be in the key positions. Now, any organizations controlled by the Blackrocs of the world, which is most of bigger organizations today, then the Blackroc have a very much, in my view at least, very much a ticker box type thing. So you just give someone a checklist. Check that, go to refrigerator, take out food, put in microwave, put on plate, take to table. So you tick those boxes. Well, that's it, done. Okay, we've done our job. But that's not how. If you want to really add value, then you add value by the expertise and the quality of your people and your supervisory and managerial staff. Your buying staff, your purchasing officers. It takes a quality makeover where you bringing brains and capability into the company. But Blackroc's one of the biggest exponents, and it's Vanguard, the biggest exponents of ticker box, diversity, equity, inclusion, black lesbians everywhere. They're hugely into that, and the idea of merit is innovation and so on is laughable. So they would reject that out of hand, and that takes. So you take a lot of discipline, a lot of high quality people if you're going to make the change and fight back from what is a losing position, which Cracker Barrel clearly was in. Or if the share price is any indication anyway. So that was too hard. No, we don't do that. Well, if we look, so this is the meeting. If we decide we want quality, capable, innovative people, energized to make Cracker Barrel successful, then they're going to be all white. They're going to be all straight white males, or pretty much. They're going to be all straight and white, but nearly all straight white males. We can't have that. We want to allow Hitler to take over Cracker Barrel. Damn. So that's the way back that you can do, and in days gone by that would have been the way back, but it's not now. No. Forget that. We want to keep all the black lesbians in place. Well, what are we going to do then? Well, a quick makeover is the solution. A push button makeover, that'll fix it. Well, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Well, if we're not getting younger customers into the restaurant, then we just need to trash all the stuff that's made us successful in the first place, because it's not making us successful now. I'll come back to other factors that are at play there. So we need to get younger diners into the place and get rid of those old crony fogies, those old geezers, and get some young people. We need to attract the trans people. We need to attract black lesbians. That's what we need to do. So we'll do a makeover, and the old 1890s, early 1900s dining experience, that's scaring away, the minorities. Only if we got rid of that, then the minorities, the transgender black lesbians, they would come flocking to the restaurant in the same way that they come flocking to the Star Wars movies that have black lesbians. Well, they actually don't go flocking to the Star Wars. Well, who cares? Who cares? We'll just do this anyway because it's the thing to do. So this is the path that they chose. Now, you can tell it's the quick fix path. Okay, what are we going to do? Let's get a grinning, toothy little blonde girlie to be the CEO. Who are we going to get? What about that so-and-so? But she's a moron. She's an idiot. Who the fuck cares? She's just going to be the figurehead front. We're going to trot her around to the talk shows, and she's going to do lots of smiling. We'll give her a little script to read, and she's going to come out with these little talking point stuffs while she's grinning through her perfect dentition and her dyed blonde hair and so on, and she's going to be a cute little girlie. She's going to do lots of little giggles, and we're going to get to be interviewed by black lesbians and so on. It'll be perfect, and we'll just take out all the homespun, folksy type stuff that used to be in the stores, and we'll just make it a nice sterile place, and the young kids will come flocking to it. Now, certainly, so far, and it's still early days, they haven't converted every store, as far as I'm aware. So as far as I can tell, it's not really working out very well. It's not attracting new customers, but it's scaring away the existing customer base, which is the mistake that they all have made, whether it's the Star Wars franchise or anything, that they make the terrible mistakes. We can keep the existing viewers, mostly male or this or that, even though we treat them like shit and lecture them and tell them they're evil, misogynist, fascist, Nazi, swastika waving, and we'll just bring in the black lesbians, and that'll sort of be that's not how it works in real life. And the idea that they even thought for a second that's that would happen is beyond my comprehension. Imagine the low IQ quality of these people. I mean, fuck, they're either so committed to social engineering that they're quite prepared to accept any and all collateral damage, which I think also plays a part in it, or they're so fucking stupid they don't know. But I almost think that they're quite prepared to accept the collateral damage. But in the case of Cracker Barrel, I think it's stupidity. They're not prepared to let go of the social engineering stuff, which they would need to do in order to professionalize the organization so they can fight back to a winning position and make the hard decisions that are necessary. And that they clearly weren't prepared to do that, so they've gone for the little giggling girlie up front and the quick fix stuff, which again it doesn't appear to be having any effect at all in terms of positive effect. It looks like things are going to head south even quicker. Now, there's a few other factors to consider here. One is the discretionary spending dollar of the consumer is declining. Now, this is happening all across the Western world at the same pace. So that can hardly be just some sort of accident or some sort of organic thing. It's not. It's a planned thing. The cost of groceries, the cost of mortgages or rent, the cost of energy and so on is such that the discretionary dollar that the consumer has that they would spend on, say, having a meal at a Cracker Barrel or anywhere else. But that discretionary dollar is being squeezed, and people just have less money around, so they're deciding maybe not to go out to eat as much, and that would have a significant impact on any restaurant chain. People are looking at, say, a quick takeout food, hot to go type food, and being cheaper than a sit down restaurant meal. And people are, eating in more. I mean, just to give you some, if I look at, say, a takeout burger place, just here in the town, just near where I live, if you got, mum, dad, and a couple of kids, you'd be looking at between $50 and $60 for your burger and your fries, and your soda, soft drink type stuff, and Now I can, if you go to the local grocery store, you can buy a large cooked takeout chicken in the grocery store, a few vegetables, that sort of thing. And you'd have to spend a little bit of time on the stove, but not too long, less than 20 minutes. And you could you could feed a family of 4 for around a third, maybe even slightly less, but give or take, say a third of what it would cost you to eat out. Now, if your budget's under stress, from like rent increases, things like that, energy increases, cost of running a motor vehicle, or whatever it might be, but there's increases in costs across the board. If you look at that, then instead of spending $60 on even a lower end, a cheaper end dining sort of thing, you could eat for a third of that if you prepared to buy your stuff in the grocery store. So a lot of people are choosing to do that. And again, this squeeze is universal, accelerated very much by COVID, by the way. And they use COVID as the cover. I don't think that's the cause. I think that's the cover story for increasing prices. So, and some of the price increases are brutal. The price of especially fresh food, like beef, price of beef and so on has gone through the roof, and especially the better quality cuts. You're looking at a beef, a piece of good quality beef for say 4 people now. Just a meal, it's $80. And that's not like people are gorging themselves. So that gives you an idea of, and by the time you add your vegetables or something, you're up to $100 for that meal, and that's eating in. You're cooking it yourself, for goodness sakes. So there's been a lot of changes in discretionary income and so on. And could Cracker Barrel compete in that space? And did they have to make radical adjustments again in terms of quality of people and management and so on? But they've gone the other way. I think they've hired that low IQ, brainless bimbo as a fucking spokesperson, calling her the CEO, and they've done nothing. I believe, in my view, they've done nothing about professionalising the organisation and really having a fight back plan. They just haven't. It's just a quick makeover and so on. But we do need to accept, and this is historical fact here. A recent historical fact is that Cracker Barrel is declining anyway, and that they had to do something anyway. But to do what they've done is in my view, at least, almost suicidal from a commercial perspective. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.